不思議の名は決して絶やさぬとお誓い申し上げまする。
そう思わなんだら申し出ておらぬわ。わしは息子に恵まれなんだが、お主のことを息子のように思っておった。わしの遺書じゃ。これで終わりとは残念でございまするが、我が甥は殿の良き配下になりましょう。一体どのような心地がするものでございましょうか。殿は全ての風を己の欲しいままに操っておられる。
読むだけじゃ。
されどどのようにして勝つおつもりですか。今や殿の軍は多勢に無勢。ここで好転でございまするか。うまくいくかもしれませんが、拙者にはどうしたら勝てるのか分かりません。
藪重殿、これだけ共にやってまいったのじゃ。そなただけは目の前でなされている策に気づくと思うておったぞ。それはすなわち死を意味する。そこでわしは女子を一人送り込み、軍勢にもできぬことをさせたのじゃ。これよりおよそ一月のち、我らは関ヶ原にて敵と対峙いたす。そなたの申す通り、お世継ぎの軍が石堂側につけば、わしの軍勢に勝ち目はない。じゃがマリコ殿の行いのおかげで、落ち葉の方は石堂との盟約に嫌気がさし、その日石堂には掲げる御旗がない。大老衆は刀すら抜く前に石堂に背を向けるであろう。まずはわしの新たな権勢の要である江戸から始める。築き上げるは戦のない太平の世じゃ。
絵空事にございまするな。我らの一生も下々の者たちの死も生贄も皆、我ら一門の名に勝利を記すだけのもの。
全て思いのままになる。
将軍の小さいも胸の奥に秘めたお心は、殿も他の者とさほど変わりませぬな。本当のことを語ってくだされ。墓場まで持ってまいりまするゆえ。
死人に先々の話をして何とする。
What is up, everybody? Jeremy Eisenfire here, and welcome to my Shogun Episode 10 breakdown. And for this breakdown, we are going to be taking a closer look at the character of Yabushigi, and the ending of the phenomenal arc that he has played throughout Shogun. Yabushigi has been one of my favorite characters in the entire series of Shogun, and Tatsunobu Asano has played him absolutely brilliantly, with a certain charm and flamboyance that you couldn't help but appreciate. And in this finale, we finally see Yabushigi's incredible story arc come to a close in epic fashion. Following the tragic death of Mariko at the end of Episode 9, we find Yabushigi in a state that we really haven't seen him in the past, where he is seemingly feeling very remorseful and is certainly not acting himself. Whether it was the death of Mariko weighing on his conscience, or the effects from the blast that he just recently endured, or potentially a combination of the two, Yabushigi has seemingly been reduced to a state in which he appears half-mad. Especially if the pawn scene between Yabushigi and Ashido is any indication, where Yabushigi is seemingly blaming the catfish, the non-existent catfish, as the cause for the recent earthquake and being a bad omen of things to come. And again, this is certainly a state that we have never seen Yabushigi in before up until this point, and it's very interesting to see his character take this kind of a turn. Especially considering, much like Toranaga, Yabushigi always seems to have one more card up his sleeve that he is ready to play in order to save his life. He has been on the brink of death many times throughout the series of Shogun, and he always manages to squeak by. Yet, for some reason, this version of Yabushigi in the finale almost seems to know that he is approaching the end of his rope. A fact which is made even more clear when we get even more antics from Yabushigi on the boat ride over to Ajiro, where Yabushigi begins to beg Blackthorne to take him to his home country of England, followed by Yabushigi asking Blackthorne to teach him how to dive, similar to how he taught Toranaga earlier in the season. And again, it was very strange and almost a little bit sad to see Yabushigi reduced to this state after the phenomenal character that he had been portraying up until this point in the series, although it seems like all of the past deeds are finally catching up to him. But then Yabushigi and Blackthorne arrive in Ajiro, and before they make shore, Blackthorne notices that his ship, the Erasmus, has been burnt down. And you can just see the devastation on Blackthorne's face in this moment. He has been working all season to try and get back to his crew and get back to his ship, only to finally get there and have it ripped from his grasp. And upon reaching the shore, Yabushigi is immediately taken into custody by Toranaga's men, where he is then escorted to Toranaga himself. And here we learn that Toranaga and company do in fact know the hand that Yabushigi played in the massacre at Osaka Castle when he let the shinobi assassins within the walls, thanks to one of Mariko's ladies-in-waiting who witnessed Yabushigi opening the gates for the assailants. And if nothing else, it's certainly a little bit ironic that it was one of Mariko's ladies-in-waiting of all people who witnessed Yabushigi that night, considering the hand that Yabushigi played in Mariko's death. A kind of poetic justice, if you will. But next, upon being confronted by Toranaga about his hand in Mariko's death, Yabushigi at the very least does not deny it and admits to his crimes, with Toranaga ultimately sentencing Yabushigi to commit seppuku. And this scene I thought was incredibly interesting. We have seen throughout the entire series that Yabushigi has had a strange fascination with death, and rates certain deaths against one another, and he really did not want to die by seppuku, and pleads with Toranaga for a better death, at which point he requests to die by either cannon fire, or by being eaten by a pack of angry fish, a request that Toranaga denies, followed by Yabushigi requesting that Blackthorne be his second, only to have that request denied as well, with Toranaga stepping in the place of second instead. And at first I thought it was a little bit weird that Toranaga denied Yabushigi's request to have Blackthorne be his second until I saw the final scene between Yabushigi and Toranaga, and I do believe he specifically denied him Blackthorne as a second because he purposely wanted to be the second himself to have this final conversation between the two. A conversation that turns out to be a phenomenal final scene between Yabushigi and Toranaga, on the edge of a cliff no less. In a sense, ending Yabushigi's story where it began all those episodes ago in the premiere of Shogun. We also get a really nice scene between Yabushigi and Omi before Yabushigi meets his end as well, with Yabushigi referring to Omi as the son that he never had, with Omi vowing to carry on Yabushigi's name as best as he can. And of course, Yabushigi's story could never come to a true end until he writes that final will and testament that he had been avoiding all season. And the constant writing and rewriting of Yabushigi's will has been a great source of comedic levity throughout the series, so of course it would only be natural if we finally get to see him write that final will and testament. And I also think it was very fitting for Yabushigi to have his final scene in the series with Toranaga, especially considering the complicated history these two share, with Yabushigi wishing that he would be alive to go on to see everything that Toranaga would go on to accomplish, and see his vision come to fruition, with Yabushigi asking Toranaga if becoming Shogun was his plan the entire time. And of course, with Toranaga being Toranaga, he gives the vaguest answer possible. And the final seppuku scene between Yabushigi and Toranaga was very interesting as well, as Yabushigi and Toranaga share a very interesting moment in the middle of it right before the end, where the two exchange a very pleasant smile with one another, just as Yabushigi loses his head. A phenomenal ending for one of the most intriguing and complex characters in the entirety of Shogun. And overall it was a fitting ending to say the least. Yabushigi had been dodging death ever since the very first episode, time and time again, so it was only a matter of time until his past deeds eventually caught up with him, and here they most certainly did. And of course, I cannot speak highly enough about the performance of Tatsunobu Asano portraying the character of Yabushigi. He brought an incredibly interesting dynamic into every scene that he was in, and was certainly one of the more standout performances in the series. But definitely leave your thoughts and comments down below as well. What did you think of the character of Yabushigi, and how would you rate his death? But that is going to do it for our breakdown on the character of Yabushigi. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit a like on your way out, and consider subscribing to stay up to date on all of our upcoming content. And as always, I want to give a big thank you to everybody out there for watching, and a huge thank you to all of the channel members, and we will see you on the next one.
We live and we die. We control nothing beyond that.